Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dyslexia Life Hacks Show. I'm your host, Matthew Head, and in this episode, I'm talking to Jason Flinter. He's a brand builder and has been doing this since 1996 with his own company, The Flint. He's also a writer and recently released the book From Bland to Brand that is a culmination of his experience over the years. He's a keynote speaker and supports entrepreneurs, startups, and small and medium enterprises. I will put links to Jason's company as well as some other things we talk about in the show notes, which will be available at dyslexialifehacks.com/podcast. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you very much. I suddenly feel very nervous now. That sounds all very professional.
I've done that intro a number of times.
It was very smooth. It was very smooth.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Where I thought I'd start this off is really diving into your background in graphic design and where the interest of that started from.
Well, I guess the interest started when I was read comics. I think that would have been it. Was really interested in comics. I wasn't interested. I mean, I guess it was the visual side of the comics that I really enjoyed. Wasn't very too much to read, so that was good. And I now realise I'm a very visual led person. Yes. And then from that, I would then copy those comics in terms of kind of just drawing, saying, how do you draw Superman or Batman or Spider-Man? And that then progressed in doing my own comics and designing my own superheroes. Then that sounds better than it was. It was kept very much in my bedroom. It didn't go any further than that. I may have made my own costumes as well, but that's another story. So I would do my own comics, and that kind of led into school, and I think most of the class kind of realised that I was the arty bloke, and I was kind of good at comics and kind of good at cartooning. I think that I sort of mentioned that in my book. I kind of knew where I was in the pecking order in class. If everyone goes back to their class, they kind of know where they were. Yeah, in that, you could fit yourself. Okay, I was about number 17 out of 34 or whatever. But yeah, I was good at being a goalie. I was definitely good at doing art and cartoons and a bit of top trumps. Everything else I wasn't that good at. But that's probably where it started. In those days, it was called commercial artist. I don't think even the word graphic designer. I wasn't familiar with the term graphic designer. So this is when I was, this is like 8, 9, 10. So this is, 73, 74, 75. Even at that age, I kind of wanted to be a commercial artist, whatever that meant to an 8-year-old.
Yes. And how did you then try and step through the school system to achieve that kind of goal? Did you manage to plan it out? Was it like you stumbled into the uni course at the end of it all?
I do think that there was stumbling and a little bit direction. I obviously keen on art, so in the O levels, I did art. I did art, technical drawing, and another new O level. And the year I did it, I have no idea when. 81 was a design O level, and that was the first year. I know my year was the first people to do that. I also took art a year earlier and got that. I think again the school just wanted to see if I could. I mean, it was more of a reflection on the school. Obviously, the school could be proud of having pupils that would pass O levels a year earlier than they should. So they sort of tried me out on that. I was kind of picked to do the school murals and all that sort of stuff, and that carried. So I did that, and then come the O levels, it was kind of, well, what are you going to do now? And I go, well, I presume I should do A levels. So I wanted to do art, technical drawing, and design, and they wouldn't let you do that back in my day. No, you in those days, you weren't allowed to do subjects that would help each other because you had more chance of passing.
Yeah, where is the logic in that?
I don't know. Well, that was back in the days where you didn't have school tables and you didn't have to perform. The school didn't have to perform, I guess.
Right.
So they said that you can do one of those three, but you can't do all of them.
Oh,
so I did art, and they go, so what else are you good at? And so I enjoyed physics at the time, so I took that. And my dad said, well, in case you run your own business, you might as well do business studies. And I go, I can't do that. So that happened. And again, after that, it's like, well, what do you do after A-levels? Well, you do a degree, I suppose. And so it's a bit more, the route was a bit more like that. I don't think there was a massive plan. It was just, okay, well, what next? Yeah. Really, that's kind of how it went. It turns out that to do a degree, you have to do an extra year called a foundation course, which I did in local Bournemouth and Paul College of Art and Design, at a place called Shirley Park, and that's just my best year in terms of it was 1984. So it's just the greatest year ever.
It is a good year.
Yeah, such a good year. And so I did a year there, and then went to Bristol Polytechnic. We didn't have universities back in 1984. Yeah. Universities didn't do art. So Polytechnics did all the arty karate stuff. So did a degree there. So yeah, yes, I'd like to think it was a plan, but it was a more like, I guess I better do the next thing.
Yes, yeah, I kind of enjoyed that. I'll just find the next line through to.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to put off going to work. It's just, I think in those days it was deemed useful to have a degree. I'm not so sure these days.
Yeah. So you would have spilled out of the university with the degree in graphic design. In graphic, so it's called graphic design by that time.
By that time, yes, the word commercial art had gone. I know about 8, but even by I was doing O-levels, it wasn't commercial art. It was graphic design by then.
Okay. And then did you go straight into design work after that, or did you find a job in something else first?
No, I mean I did get into sort of kind of graphics. I think luckily for me, I actually concentrated on trying to play with computers at the end of 1987, or about 86, 87. A huge mainframe system in Polytechnic. I don't think there wasn't even a Mac 2 back then. So there's apricots and mainframe systems, and it would literally take me a day to draw a circle on this computer, because you had to type in all the coordinates, all the vertices of the circle, and you just type in going 0.75 that way and 1.85 that way, and it'll do that. And then another half an hour to colour it in or something. And then I designed typefaces on these computers.
Oh, okay.
Which was I mean, in 1986 it was quite quite leading edge. And on my degree show, a local company spotted those things, and it was me and Garfield. We were the only two that were dabbling in computers out of the whole of our year. And this computer graphics company. So again, in 1986, 1987, it was kind of unheard of. But it was the start of what was called business presentation. So you got PowerPoint today. Well, back in 1987, business graphics presentations were done using 35mm slides.
Yes, in the old circle.
Yeah, in the old carousel. Yeah. And you would produce huge. So every like a business AGM or something would then show their yearly projections, and they want to use pie charts and bar charts and all that sort of stuff, and some text slides and some pictures or whatever. So this was the time where all that was now done on a computer. So we get the data in. Type in the year's projections, and then these little bar charts would appear on this computer. In those days, they were called starbursts. These computers, and these were I'm not trying to exaggerate, were £100,000 for these computers. In this company, there's a big photographic processing company in Bristol called CPL, Colour Processing Labs. And it was they decided to get into that market, little company. It was me, it was the boss, Dave, and another Dave Bridge, who's the senior designer, and I was a junior designer. And so we just produced these slides. And so I got to really understand those computers, and this was before Photoshop and anything like that. And that's how I cut my teeth on then learning that world, because in Poly, we had learned all the traditional methods of graphic design. So we didn't use computers.
Yes.
We used drawing boards, parallel motion, rotary pens, calgum, bromides, writing the words and sending them off to a typesetter who would go and set them and print it out. And then you take the typesetting back and you'd have to cut all these words out, stick them down onto paper. And then you take a big photograph of it and then send it off to a printer. So it was all totally analog and manual. And when we left, along with Fleet Street, who then just swapped over from hot metal to computers, and they all went on strike because of it. That was the year I left. So it was like, overnight I had to basically learn all over again. To learn the implements of that trade.
Yes.
Luckily, the Polytechnic taught us how to use our brain and how to solve design problems.
Yeah.
We just need to use different tools to then get it printed, basically.
Yeah. One thing I want to get to is how did you find out you're dyslexic? Because it sounds like actually relearning the tools to use a computer and being computers when they were just about to become a big thing.
Yeah.
Do you find that give you an advantage in terms of learning that quicker?
I don't know. Again, as I said, I was lucky where I was dabbling on the mainframe computer at Poly, and whether that gave me an edge, certainly it enabled me to get the job.
Yes.
So that was really lucky, because it wasn't. That wasn't. Again, I didn't plan that. Talking about things like this, because I've never had this discussion and had that question. Trying to think back as to why I got attracted to working on these computers. Why did that attract me? Why did I like designing typefaces on the computer rather than drawing it out? I don't know.
It is an interesting one, the typeface stuff, because you'd think being dyslexic, designing typefaces would either be really beneficial because the words that flip for you and are uncomfortable, you steer away from, and you start designing typefaces that work for you, by extension, then work for everybody else.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, the thing that I will probably get into it later, but the realization that there's something about me that's dyslexic. I mean, everyone has varying degrees of dyslexia, so I don't know I couldn't tell you how dyslexic I am. I don't know. I now know it runs in our family, and as I've said to you, my father was part of it. Was running the Dorset Dyslexia Association. My sister's dyslexic, and all that was all discovered. With me, it wasn't diagnosed. So it only, I would say about 10 years ago, as acceptance of it and far more discussion about it, you go, oh, well, that's what has happened to me. But by the time I'm 40, you've kind of learned to deal with it.
Yes, yeah.
And it's mainly been you sort of say to yourself, well, you just can't spell, Jason. That's just that. But just accept that you're just not good at spelling. You go, fine, okay. I've realised I'm not very good at reading. Mm-hmm. But that that might mean something different to different people. And then you just these little cogs like starts all fitting into place, and the jigsaw piece comes together, and you go, oh, that's why I prefer comics than books. Oh, that's why I can't read that. That's why I can't spell. Blah, blah. And these all things slowly dawned on me over the past sort of 15 to 10 years. It was a bit weird. So, but I'm really fascinated with language. Right. I love wordplay, And that's very separate to, okay, every now and then there's a word that I go, I don't know what that says. Or my wife will go, can you not see that you spelt that wrong? And I'm going, nope. It looks fine to me. I can't see any other way of spelling that. Or it looked fine to me when I last looked at it. I appreciate now when I look at it, it reads something different.
Yeah. Yes.
But at the time, it was fine. Or at the split second I saw it, it was fine. I just see words like, God, and because of the last 2 years, now I see the word. What do I see the word as? Vacancies. All I see is vaccines.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you just muddle the whole thing up.
Yeah, I mean, again, I can only sort of say how I see words, and they just very quickly go, they go, and the little letters just quickly move around, and then they stay, and then they might move again. Yeah, and you go, well, that said metal a minute ago, or a split second ago, and now it says meal. It's like, well, there was a T in there a second ago, and the words tend to do that for me, which is kind of weird. So, but I don't know. I don't know whether that's weird or not. And maybe that's just absolutely normal.
No, it's a dyslexic trait to be able to. You tend to think in 3D and render everything as a 3D image in your head. But the problem out with letters on a page is that they can flip round, turn around, go inside out and backwards as your brain sort of does the Matrix style 3D turnaround, which is why you can end up with the, as you put it, all the words turn around and upside down. And you imagine, well, kind of my experience is you see the word, sometimes you don't read, you'll read the word, but you read sort of the end and the beginning of it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I've seen those posts, and they go, "If you can read this, you're a genius or something." You're going, "What do you mean? That's how I read. That's as long as the beginning and the end, roughly what I'm used to seeing as a symbol." Yeah. Then you can I'd assume most people can get through that, but the fact these words are totally mixed up is basically how. On occasion, that's how I would see it, and I just going, "That's probably that word. That's probably that word. That's probably that word," and you just get through it.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's always, but having that not being diagnosed for when I was a kid, admittedly, and it really has had no impact on me because it's just all right. It's like. Well, anything. I just happen to like a certain type of music, but someone else won't. Well, that's just life. You just all have different views and different perspectives and everything. I kind of understand that. So it's never really a massive problem for me. But I think I've separated the idea. Well, I know I can't spell and words that weird every now and then, but I separate that completely from I really love wordplay. And I really love, I'm also a songwriter, so I really love writing lyrics. I haven't done that for a long time. So the fact that I can't, the spelling of it or writing down a word and it might be looking a bit weird every now and then, that's quite, for me, I can easily separate that out because I know
how do you find the wordplay? Because I really struggle with it. If I'm reading something with wordplay in it, it's kind of amusing, but I struggle to do it myself. So how is the process for you?
I guess I can only put it in. It's more of a what's the wordplay? It's more as a challenge or a puzzle that I like to give myself. So let's say, well, it'll be so in my professional experience. And certainly in branding, my job is to come up with company names. So that's a real massive wordplay thing I've got to sort out. Obviously, got to do a logo, but the next thing I've got to do is come up with a company strapline. So out of the 3 things I've got to do, 2 of them are wordplay. So 66% of my job is to deal with words. And so, but then on the lyric side of things as well, I guess the task that I like to set myself is dealing with things like, take an idiom. If you've got a subject, you go, well, the first thing I do is look up all the idioms to do with that subject.
Yes.
Because again, I'm sure it's the same in every language, but I'll pick two subjects, say for a company, and no matter what those two, let me think of a company that we've done some work for recently. Let's say a mattress company called Zest Rest. So my task then is go, right, I've got to think of something. So we've already got the word zest because we will talk about being a bit more alive after a good night's sleep. And then again, trying to think of the words. I mean, I came up with I think about 100 different names of this company, and then, but the brief helps us. So we end up with zest. Definitely wanted that thing. Obviously, so I like rhyming's good. So rest was good. It's great that the word rest rhymes with zest because sleeping is about getting restful. So that's great. But then I've now got to think of a strap line as well to help sum those two words up as well. So we come up with wake up refreshed. Zest, rest, wake up refreshed. So it's like it scans, it's got some rhythm to it, it rhymes.
Yeah.
The word refreshed adds on to the word zest and rest. And it's like I got some up a name of a company and the slogan in 5 words. And they've all got to kind of work together. But that took a couple of days. That's just one. I mean, that's one of many things. But it's kind of okay. You say you go to the idioms, and what do you find with zest, and you find all these things out, and what do you find with waking up, and it always seems to me that, and I guess I do assume it works with every other language, but just no matter what the puzzle is, with the English language, you always have a word that's a double meaning, and you'll find one word out of 1,000 that will mean or have a double meaning of the two things you want to bring together. And it's just finding that link. It's that puzzle I love solving. And to try and not to use the same word twice. I know, and it's the same in lyrics. I can't stand it when the same word appears. There's actually some software that you put songs into, and it tells you where you've repeated, because it's hard to read all. So it tells you where you've repeated words. You go, oh, I've got to find another synonym for a word, and that again, that's what I like. So, we've just done a whole album on seasons with a girl, and it's like we got 16 songs here, and we got to talk about seasons, and it's like by song 2, you've used up every single synonym you possibly have for the word winter.
Yes.
But you've got another 14 songs to go. Maybe in answer to your question, it's giving myself that puzzle and that to solve, and to try and use these words that have double meanings, or they're within an idiom somewhere, and you go, right, that I could use that. Or if we're going to use the word jump, or opposites as well. We quite like doing opposites. So if we're going to use the word up in one line, we've got to use the word down for the next one. Or if we're going to use the word fast, we've got to use the word slow. But how do we do that, and how does it make sense? So it's rather than doing the crossword, I guess, that's laid out in front of you, I just create my own puzzles with lyric writing, and just say, right, come on, you've got to solve this. And it's got to make sense, but also it's got to rhyme. It's also got to scan. It's got to fit with the melody. So there's loads of levels of which these words have got to write. So you've got to really sculpt the right amount of words, and that's just and which to me has nothing to do with dyslexia. It's just puzzle solving.
Yes, but dyslexics like solving puzzles.
Well, yeah. So yes. I mean, yes. I guess I'm really. I only think that dyslexia is like what I've been told, or how I've been labelled is like, well, you can't spell. That's where a lot of the people I talk to, that's where it starts and stops.
Yes, no, the creative problem solver.
Yeah.
Another thing, Levy, to get with it. So you've applied that to working with wordplay and lyrics to make that work. Like, this is challenging. How do I get this all to come together? It's really interesting hearing how your brain is not so worried about the language of it, but more the cleverness of how I can make it all dance around, and particularly with the lyric writing, as you mentioned, having a vocal melody that's got to fit, it's got to make sense within the song and roll through. That's quite a tricky thing to get right.
Yeah, but I guess the end goal was it just becomes so satisfying. I know the girl I write with, when we could be there for half an hour working on 3 words. and when we get it right, we go, oh my God! As if there was no other way of doing it. That was the perfect solution. And that's really, well, for us to it's satisfying. For other people, it's probably nothing, but they would have come up with it in seconds. But yeah, it's really quite satisfying. And I just do love our language. I'm saying it's probably the same for every language.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but
no, I've no idea.
Like a reasonable assumption.
Yes, I don't know how hard it is to write a song in German. I don't know.
It's an interesting palette of words to start with, isn't it? So I wanted to circle back to you. You said your dad was on the board of directors of the Dorset Dyslexia Association.
Yes.
But he hadn't noticed any dyslexia in yourself. How do you feel that?
Well, I guess that's the 18-year gap between me and my half-sister.
Right, I see.
With his second marriage.
Okay.
And I'm guessing that in 1974, when I was 9, again, you'll know the history. I don't know the history, but how prevalent were teachers trained to spot dyslexia in 1974?
No, it's more what I was thinking really is I've had previous guests on who basically they find out they're dyslexic because their children get recognised as being dyslexic, and they suddenly realise the patterns in with them. So thinking with your dad's on the Dyslexia Association, sees it with your half sister.
Yeah.
And then I thought maybe earlier on when I read that actually you might have started watching the same patterns as yourself, but clearly it's just something you come out with completely standalone.
I didn't talk, and not in a bad way. I mean, because I left home. So when I was left home at 19,
right? Yeah,
my half sister was 2. Okay. So I'd gone on bang. Right. So I can't see that there was. So I'm guessing Dad wouldn't have known. I'm guessing he wouldn't have been told by the teachers. Although actually something did crop up, which I'll see is now crossing my mind. Now I speak to you. So it's all unraveling now.
Yeah.
I'll be crying in a minute if you don't stop. So the one thing that did, come back to answer your initial question. So the teachers wouldn't have told Dan at parent evening that they're worried that Jason might have dyslexia. That clearly didn't happen. What would have happened is that Jason's English isn't very good. Yes. I mean, we know that because I don't have an English O level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Couldn't do it. Now you'd think that would stop me, or stop me in my tracks in terms of further education. Mm-hmm. But luckily, my art, and I'm trying not to be arrogant here, my art was clearly good enough to. You have to have maths and English to go to uni. Yes, well, I did. Yeah. I didn't. You had to have 3 O levels to get to uni. I only had 1. I failed physics. I dropped out of business studies and I only had A level, but that got me uni. I didn't have English. So we know I was bad at English. In those days, we didn't know why.
Yeah.
I was on the, I mean, sorry to say this in front of the audience, but I was on the thick table, and I couldn't spell and I couldn't write, and it was terrible. So I guess my dad didn't. So when my Eloise went to school, again, I don't know really the history. All I do know is that the family knows that Eloise is dyslexic, and we know that because of that, that really got my dad interested in that, and then he took up the role of being on the board of Dorset. So I know he then didn't go, maybe Jason was dyslexic. We never had that conversation. And by the time my sister was in that system and was diagnosed, when she was 8, 9, 10, I was 30 and in Bristol, away from my family, and we never spoke about it.
Yes, the age gap is what really stops all the dots getting connected.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. I can see that.
Yeah. So, so that I think that's what happened. So, but yes, that thing I just mentioned, that what my dad, and I think more so my stepmom, because my dad was working, she did organise extra English after school for me.
Oh, okay.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember about it is that I was reminded, and I'm sorry if Jan's listening, and I don't mean this badly at all. I'm just recollecting, and I apologize, and I will apologize now. I remember being told that I was being ungrateful for having those after school English lessons. I think my teacher was called Diane, if I remember rightly. And I guess I can't remember, it's such a long time ago, but I guess I must have resented it. I think what I'm resenting is that I still found it difficult.
Yes.
And I'm actually thinking about that as we speak.
Mm-hmm. It could very well be rebelling because it's difficult, and what they're teaching you, because they don't know. They don't know what the problem is, so to speak, per se. But you're still being taught a method that doesn't work for you.
Yeah, totally. And that's what I'm realising right now.
Live on air.
Live on air. So, and what I do know is what my biggest problem is my comprehension.
Okay.
And this is why I've only started. I would say about 5 years ago, I started being able to read books. Because that's the same with my wife Mandy. And again, another visually led person. We met at Poly, so we met at the same graphic design course.
Yes.
That well tried and tested method of meeting your wife.
Yes.
You were saying yes, as if you were knowingly, you may have had experience with that. No.
No, I went to uni in my late 20s. So everybody at my university was quite a bit younger than I was.
Oh wow! Okay, right. Okay, a mature student.
That's not how I met my partner.
Okay, fair enough. I've lost my thread there. Yes, but comprehension. Yeah. So it was, and again, is this another wiring fault in my head? Is retaining the information, but particularly in fiction. So I could never retain a story from one page to the next. And I've spoken to many people, and they've had a similar thing. And they think, I can't read books. And it's like you turn one page and you're going, who's Dave? It's like, well, he was introduced on the last page. You go, I don't know who he is. And so the comprehension and the amount of comprehensions tests you have it in English at O level is quite ridiculous.
Yes.
So it's like, it's weird because I can comprehend things, but I can't remember a storyline when it's in words.
Yes.
Now, a film or a comic, yes.
Or an audiobook?
Well, I certainly listen to a lot of podcasts now. I haven't listened to audiobooks. I know a lot of people do, certainly in their cars, but I haven't got a CD player in my car, so I've got to try and hook my phone up. But yeah, so I listen to podcasts because I tend to work at the computer. When if there's nothing too taxing on my brain, I can do some work and listen to a podcast at the same time. If I have to creatively think, I can't do that. But if I'm doing some manual, just colouring something up or doing a drawing, then I can listen to a podcast at the same time. Yeah. So it was that. Yeah. So these things are slowly building up and going, right, I can't do that. Oh, that's weird when that looks, and suddenly I can't spell it, and suddenly I can. Suddenly that says vaccines. Next minute it says vacancies, or there's a T in the middle of meal, and it says metal, and then it says meal. I can't comprehend stuff. Yeah, it all slowly goes, right. That's what's wrong with me. Or I'll put that in air quotes for the people listening. Because then you go, well, actually, you look it up and you go, look at all the people who are dyslexic, the famous, Einsteins and Bransons of the world, and you go, that's fair enough. I don't mind. Yeah. I don't mind being in that club.
That's good company to be in.
It's good company to be in, and I think, and now I do think that my profession works so much better because of the way my brain's wired up.
Yes, that brings me nicely to your profession and brand builders. So obviously, in 1996, you started your company, The Flint, which focused on building brands, which I imagine brands are important in 96, but they're getting even more and more important in the modern times. Would you think? Or it seems like that to me on social media anyway.
I guess it depends on what anybody describes or has an idea of what brand means to them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole chapter in my book about what is a brand, and you ask 15 people, and I'll give you 15 different answers. Well, they'll mainly say the logo, which is the biggest wrong answer you could get. So people say, if they know if I go to a network event or something and they go, and they know I'm the brand guy, they go, oh, do you have a look at my brand? And they show me their business card and they show me their logo. And then I go, well, that's really nice. But what does your business stand for? What's your promise to your customer? What's your value? What's your values? Because that's what the brand is. Your logo is something to help a customer remind you of the experience of the brand. So yes, brands. But then again, Sainsbury's will say they will brand match your detergent for Asda's. You go, well, that's got nothing to do with what I've just said. But some people will say a box of detergent is a cheaper brand. Well, then therefore you mean a brand as a product then. But then you'll go, well, okay, David Beckham is a brand, especially when you start selling whatever he sells, aftershave or something.
Watches,
I don't know what IV sells. Again, the trouble with celebrity branding is that they'll put their name to 20 different brands, and you go, well, that's completely diluted. I can't believe you then. If you're saying this product's great, but so these other 19 products, well then you've diluted everything you just said. So that's a load of rubbish. You're just trying to make as much money as possible. But in that case, so a personality is a brand, and so it goes on. So these days, so many things can be misconstrued as a brand when people actually mean a product or a person and a company, and so it goes on. So brand is, I think the word brand is bandied about a lot more. I don't feel that it's any more important than it's ever been, because but I do think companies need to be far more, they need to demonstrate what they stand for a lot more. I don't think you can get away with what you used to be able to get away with as a company anymore. I think the consumers are going, because of the internet, because of social media, because of access to information. again, I try not to be too political here, but like even the past 2 years, the governments don't seem to realize there's a thing called the internet where you can find things out. Mm-hmm. They'll say something and you just quickly, well, that's clearly not true. Whereas you couldn't do that before 20 years ago.
No, definitely not.
So companies could say what they want. And that's why we had to bring in things like advertising standards. There's like, it's like, back in the days when doctors were saying how good, cigarettes were for you. In advertising terms, it's like you just can't do things like that anymore. No. So the whole movement with the green movement, sustainability, and all that sort of stuff, you can say these things, but now, if your brand is, and what I mean by that, so if this company stands for these things, these values, or this promise to your customer, then you really have to demonstrate it. The great thing that's just happened on the International Women's Day, where the company was, you get a company saying, "Oh, we support Women's International Day," and they quickly did a research on the pay gap of that company, and posted it straight as soon as someone put a poster about trying to pretend they're interested in women, and they quickly did a quick search on them saying, "But how come your pay gap's 23%?" So you can't lie anymore. You can't lie as easily. So that's all I think. Hopefully, is shifting the whole idea of branding. Is that we have to be more authentic about what we're selling. And we have to demonstrate it on a daily basis, which is kind of what I talk to my clients at a much smaller scale. If you say you're going to do this, especially with strapline, the strapline is really in essence, it is the most visual promise that you're going to get. So if you say something like Jeanette says it's the best a man can get, is it? Because if it's not, then you're off brand. It's quite easy to stay on brand. You just gotta keep keeping your promise. Now the most visual is your strapline. Now, so you just got to demonstrate that. So if you start spouting these promises, bigger promises about pay gaps and about sustainability and your green credentials and all that sort of thing, then just demonstrate it, and then your customers will stick with you, and they will buy into, not just from you. Anyone can buy from you. Usually, if you're cheap enough, and the products, it's a very generic thing, and you just need a bar of soap or whatever, or a toilet roll. As long as you're cheap enough, I'll buy it. Especially with brands, the brands are supposed to be a bit more expensive than the generic. Stuff. So why are you more expensive? And why do you want me to buy from you? Well, I don't want you to buy from me. I want you to buy into me. And that's the difference between, say, growing a business and building a brand. I gotta get my customers to buy into what I'm doing, and my philosophies, and my beliefs, and how I treat my customers. So if you need to do a bit more about that, then you have to charge a bit more, because you've got a lot more things to sort out, and you got to really have a really good customer service. So therefore, you've really got to train your employees. So that will take more money to have that kind of build that environment, build that culture, and then keep your employees, because they got to buy into the same philosophy as well, and you got to treat them nicely. So that all costs money. So if you're willing to pay for that, and you're willing to pay because you're not going to get let down, and you share the beliefs, and that company's authentic, then that side of branding, I think, is what's important now, as opposed to it might not have been as important, because you could get away with a bit less, or you can get away with a bit more 30, 40 years ago.
And how did you shift from doing graphic design on early computers into focusing more on branding than just being a logo and a designer, really?
Well, it was interesting. What it was it was a few years into it. I would say about, let's try and think. Yeah, about 7-8 years into the graphic design side of things when I started. There's a whole other thing I was doing. I was doing music at the same time, but we'd have to talk about that. The interface between doing the work and the customer, it's certainly banging out a logo or in those days it was banging out a logo or even a leaflet or a business card. It was very kind of low key stuff. So you do the work. You'd assume that the customer liked it because you got paid a month later, and there wasn't too much interaction. I think in most businesses, you only hear from the customer when it's gone wrong.
Potentially, yes.
Really, because if you're doing your job, that's what they're paying for. You don't expect anything more praise. Wow, you actually did your job. That's fantastic, isn't it? That's the entry level. Just
that's
do your job.
And
we'll pay you. That wasn't particularly fulfilling. I found after a certain period of time, and there's also a point at which the customers were kind of disagreeing with some of my advice, which doesn't stop. I'm not saying it's any better now. It's certainly not worse. But you say, well, hang on, I kind of know. It was 5-7 years in the business, and maybe I wasn't that. I've been 9 years employed. I was a creative director for 9 years, so I kind of knew what I was doing. I'd already had 9 years before I started my own business. So I got some experience. I kind of know what I'm doing. So please, as you're paying for my advice, you should really take it. But I don't know. It was a funny period of time. Maybe it was wasn't midlife crisis. It was more like I had my kid by then. Dan. So it was about 2004, 2005, something like that. So what I decided to do is become an African drum facilitator. And do as one does, Matthew. I thought I'm not getting what I want out of this life, being spiritually fulfilled. I'm not being that massively creatively fulfilled. So as a hobby, I also kept the business going. But I met someone, and we started up a part-time business when I could, so on weekends and nights. Basically, team building, corporate team builds, icebreakers, with African djembes. So and up to quite good because I think the biggest one we did was about 500. So about 500 people. We gave them all a drum. We had that many drums, and we did a breaker for Sky TV in Edinburgh. That was one of my biggest gigs. And we did loads of festivals. And what was fantastic about that was the immediate human interaction, and the fact that I would do something with a drum. Well, probably not me actually. As a facilitator, you stand in the middle of a circle. They're called community drum circles. So you have a whole. I'm describing this, and of course the audience can't see what I'm doing.
Circle.
So there's a whole bunch of people in a circle, and there's one person in the middle who will then facilitate. Now I'd facilitate, and all it is starting off a very simple rhythm on one side of this circle, and then start another rhythm on the other side of the circle and get the two sides interacting with each other. Very simple, ba, 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 and ba, ba, ba. So they just and maybe something else, ba, 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 ba. So they call and respond was what's called in our language, and then do it in quarters. So there's 4 things going on, etc., etc. So and you do simple commands like saying get louder, get quieter. It's quite easy stuff. So then we get someone, and then we We'd worked out by then who was really enthusiastic and who's not, and then say, "Do you want to go?" And get them in the middle, and they just learn what we did, very simple, and they do it. And just if you're in the middle of a circle with 300 drums, it's really quite energetic, and it's quite very powerful. And just all those frequencies and that energy and the amount of air that's moving is fantastic. There's one thing with drumming called entrainment, which is a natural phenomenon, and you can see it on YouTube, where they put out of sync metronomes, and then eventually all the metronomes eventually follow each other.
Yes, yeah, seen that.
Well, that is a natural phenomenon called entrainment, and it's all to do with frequencies just pushing off each other. And so enough people in a drum circle will drum brilliantly, and you basically hand that power over to them, saying, "Look how fantastic you lot are at drumming, and you've never drummed in your lives." Especially when we eventually get 6 different rhythms going, and they're going, "I can't believe I'm doing this." So usually with that, we would go, "So what else do you think you can do in your life that you didn't think you could do?" So that's kind of why we brought in, is to get those communication skills, the leadership skills going, and the creative skills going. That was the team building side of it, and that. So I got my spiritual investment on there. I got my creative spirit investment. I got my immediate human contact, which I loved, and I thought, well, that's so much better than graphic design. So, and it kind of paid a few bills. But so I lost that. I mean, basically, I said I agreed. We did that for 5 years, and I sort of said, right, okay, it's time for a split up. The business partner at the time wanted to go push it in a different direction. I said, I'll go back to graphic design, but I won't. I said, I need to offer a lot more than knocking out a leaflet. So since 96 or even before that, there's a very different pathway between graphic design and brand strategies and brand development. So it seemed, and I'm not trying to be hurtful here, but as I found out, a graphic designer basically was there to artwork the client's idea, whereas a branding person is like, "This is what you're going to do, client, because I know best. I'm not taking any nonsense." And so within that, I go, okay, well, I can offer you so much more value. So now I will name your company, and I will do all the research that's needed for that. Not only will I do that, I eventually I can now guarantee that name, logo, or strapline will get a trademark if you applied for one, because we now have a 100% track record of that, because we know what we're doing. So that's offering the client a huge amount more value and a demonstrated experience way of doing that. I can prove that you will get a trademark. That's one of our USPs. If you come up against anybody else, especially if you try to find a logo online, no one can offer that. And therefore sitting down with them, and then, okay, so how am I going to interact with these customers a lot more? So I then start talking to their employees and get that real good face-to-face interaction with their employees. So I say, talk to the directors, and they go, "Hey, this is what your vision is. This is where you want the company to go. Okay, this is what your values are. Right, can I just go and find out if your employees know any of that? Because I don't think they do." So let's chat to them as well. Let's interview them. Let's put them through a few processes. I've got my own process to find out people's values. Let's see if they match up with the leaders, and then talk about how you're going to demonstrate these values. And as we were mentioning earlier, definitely, what are your actions going to be? What is your promise to your customer? How are you going to demonstrate that promise on a daily basis? How are you going to do that for your marketing? So, we're just offering a load more value, a load more experience, a load more guidance, and for me, a lot more interaction with all the employees, which I really love, especially in the retail high street side of the markets. I really love doing that. Because it's the interaction between an employee and a customer over, getting a coffee is so crucial to get right. So that's what really sort of. So I really worked out how to just immerse myself a bit more in a business and helping a business, especially in Bristol. We do keep very small and just help small businesses and startups. So I just got a lot more out of it, and it's a lot more fulfilling. Occasionally a client would tell me what to do. And we kind of say, well, I don't think we're the agency for you.
No. And I imagine, as you've mentioned before, with the creative side and all the trying to problem solve for wordplay and all that comes together. And now you're almost problem solving how to create brands for people, aren't you? Where you're dealing with talking to the employees, understanding customer interactions, and getting everything aligned.
No business owner should be able to know any of this. Most businesses I come in contact with get to us or get referred to us when they're about 5 years down the line. Not very often we do startups because there's sticking blocks with money and stuff like that. But sometimes people will start up a new business having been in business, so they're okay. But a lot of business owners we work with have got an idea, they're passionate about it, they do it, and then they realise they then have to be the accountant and the bookkeeper and the HR director and all this, and it's like they just get sort of deflated by all these other things that takes them away from the very reason they started the business. And why should they know about any of that? And they really don't know about what a branding strategy is. I don't think people ever get taught about that. You kind of know what a business plan is, and you kind of know what marketing is. It's like like doing a leaflet or something, or putting a post on social media. But when you say, what's the first three things you should do when you're developing a brand strategy? People, I've never had the correct answer yet in the 20 odd years I've done it, because they just don't know. And they'll say a logo.
Yeah. Yes, I was just saying logo given to my head.
Yeah,
like logo and colour scheme. Yeah,
colour scheme, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, and they're going, no. let's sit down and note. Of course, you shouldn't. There's no reason why you should know that. But this is. So solving all that. But it's more like, okay, if that's what you want for this business, and that's why you're in business. That's what's motivated you to do this sort of thing. Let me just work out the best way to make your business successful in my way. Obviously, there are other things that make business successful. It's not just a good logo. There is plenty of other things. There's plenty of reasons why a business goes down. It's not because it's got bad branding, a bad logo. There's many other reasons, but in the way I can help, and I was asked this today at the talk at college. It's what do you do? And it's like saying, well, I do branding, because that doesn't help anybody. So my main job is to create loyal customers. That's my main job. Because if you haven't got loyal customers and they're just going to come to you because they'll just go anywhere for the cheapest. I got to create them. So that's the task. Got to find the right customers. Yes. Got to make sure that they're loyal to you, and that they then tell their friends how good you are. Now they can only do that if you are good. And then the other thing is to. So that's more like the underlying strategy is how do we create that loyalty? And it's not because of your name. No one goes to a company just because of the name, or they don't not go because of the name. They go for many other things, but also on the visual side of things, the brand identity. We do have to create a name, a logo, and a strapline that will be absolutely distinguished from the competition, and that is quite hard. But that's our job. That's what we can guarantee, and we can get a trademark and protect you from people who are then trying to scam off you and trying to do a similar name with similar colour scheme, and then try and trade off your goodwill. Well, we'll come up with an identity that's so unique that we can trademark it and then tell them to stop trading. Yeah,
interesting. A lot of dynamic thinking coming into play there, isn't it? Trying to navigate all that space and understand what the brief is, what the customer wants, what they think they want versus what they
want and needs. Very different. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Bang on.
Yeah, lots of good dyslexia traits coming in there, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah. The biggest thing for me is I try and sort of say that the customers come to you and say we really want to think differently about this. We want to think outside the box. I go, really? because your outside the box is very different from mine.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's quite funny. It's always quite funny when they say that. So I come up with things outside the box and they go, "Ooh, we didn't mean that far side outside the box."
Yeah, it's like, welcome to my life where I spent no time in the box.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like that's kind of that thing, isn't it? Where they're like, let's think outside the box. You're like, well, I've never been in the box.
Outside the box, that's my starting point. Yeah. It's like, why would I start inside a box? I just wouldn't do that. Yeah. So there's lots of now you've kind of tapped into a few things that we said. There's the puzzle solving things. It's the there's three ways that people with brains wired like mine think is we got to think differently, and we get that. But the next thing we got to think divergently, then associatively, and then finally convergently. So I would say all those three things cover the word different. So I got to think divergently first, then associatively, and then at the very last minute, which is like could be days later, could be a week later, is start convergently. Whereas most people will go, "I've got an idea." No, that's bad. You go, whoa. Can we just explore that idea for like 3 days? Yes. And they're going, no, that's the wrong answer. Yes. You go, no, that's not how my brain works. I'll have an idea and 20 others. That's the divergent thing. Okay. And then, what can we associate? And this is where that wordplay thing is. Okay. So we have that word, whatever that word is. Now, what other words are in the same semantic field as that word? What can we associate with that word? Other than I know we're designing an estate agent's logo, and all you can think of is a house for a logo, but I can't do that. Because if I come up with a logo that's a house, I can't protect that by trademark because all your competition have houses for logos. Because to people who don't think like I do, because that's my job, to think that that's what you'll come up with. So I can't do that. Professionally, I won't be doing my job if I give you the same logo as somebody else. I have to think of something else.
Yes.
And I can't do that like that.
Yeah.
I got to think, house, go. And you go, door, window, welcome mat, chimney, garden, and you go on. And then you go, then every single one of those words, you go, okay, garden, now what? Plants, dirt, leaves, tree, garden swing, a paddling pool, a lovely summer, with birds tweeting, and you just more and more. Okay, go further. What else can you associate? Well, birds tweeting. I don't know, worms. And you just keep going. But the client going, no, it needs to be a house. I'm going, no, a worm. A worm's good.
Yes. When you said house and estate agent, I instantly thought of a famous estate agent brand.
Because there's a good one, but there's one in Bristol called Elephant. Yeah, and it's like,
interesting.
And what it does, and the weird thing is they're quite successful. And the weird thing is that who cares? No one cares. And that's the biggest stumbling block that we have with customers. You'll come up with a name or a logo, especially a name. And again, our job is to come up with an original name. And when I mean original, like a word that has never, ever been uttered or written in history. Now, parts of those words might be. So like Netflix was never uttered until Netflix came up with the word Netflix. Now, the word net, yes, and the word flicks, yes. But the fact that you've got...
Yes.
Yeah, they could have been called Cineweb. It's the same thing.
Yes.
No, but you don't know that because you're just used to Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
going on there. I'll give you that,
so, and you say to your customer, "Are you happy with the word Netflix?" Yes. Were you happy the day you heard it? Yes. Okay. So when I give you original name, why are you scared to death of it? It's because you've never heard of it, and most people, are uncomfortable with originality because they've never seen it. And then I demonstrate, they go, "Well, were you happy with Netflix or Pinterest or Groupon or Microsoft or all these made up words?" And they're going, "Yeah." I'm going, "Well, you've just answered your own question then. It's going to be fine." Are you happy buying a house from Elephant? It's fine. Well, people in Bristol were happy buying a house from Elephant. It doesn't matter. As long as that company does what they say they're going to do, they've demonstrated their difference, and they don't let you down. And now you've got a name that's going to distinguish them from everybody else that you're going to remember. We've done our job.
Yeah.
By the way, we didn't come up with Elephant. That's somebody else. But no. So,
okay.
But that's the point. People are just terrified of originality. And that's the way I say, my outside of the box is very, very different from yours. Yours is just lifting the lid up a little. Oh, I'm putting it down again.
Excellent. Well, I think that gets me to starting to round out this podcast. Now, at the end of each podcast, I ask 3 rapid fire questions. They don't need quick answers from you. They're just quick questions from me.
Yes.
So the first one is, what prejudice did you have about dyslexia that has been proven wrong?
I'm guessing the prejudice that I was familiar with, I didn't put it on myself. The prejudice would be that there's something wrong with you, and it's not right. What I've even taught myself. I'm going, thank God I'm dyslexic, because there's no way I could do my job if my brain was wired differently than it is now. So I'm going, I couldn't, with that thinking differently thing, because I can jumble things up quickly, and go off at a tangent really, really quickly, and I can associatively think and divergently think really quickly. It's like, thank God, because I wouldn't be able to do my job. So yeah, so I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, any answer's valid for that. It's your answer to have. And but no, it's a really interesting answer. Nicely ties together some of the stuff we spoke about during the episode. Okay, my second question is, if an alien came down, how would you describe dyslexia to them?
Right. We are presuming they can speak English. With some sort of telepathy.
Yeah.
I don't know. They'd have to. So I'm afraid I'm going to deflect that, because my brain is now going, well, I'd have to assume they understand that concept, because they might not even have language. So I've watched too many sci-fi films.
I'm on the old school alien that somehow is able to communicate with you via English kind of alien.
I'm deflecting the question and going too deep. How would I can only describe it as, if you show me some words, if you show me your language, when you read your language, sometimes that language could read differently with every second. Yeah, I mean, that's the only way I can describe what I see. Could be very different to someone else. But I will see words, and every now and then they will come alive and quickly swap. So the page in front of you will just become alive and decide it's something else.
Yes. That's a good description, I think. Yes. The final question of this podcast, and seeing as this is the Dyslexia Life Hacks Show, what is your favourite Dyslexia Life Hack?
Spell check.
Yes.
I guess spell check. And I guess early on it's just like, sorry. I didn't catch that. I must have read it too quickly, or it didn't sink in, or I would just blame. I say, it's well known that that my comprehension's bad. So yeah, I didn't catch that. But yeah, these days professionally, we have to proofread each other's work.
Yes.
I mean, this is the whole reason you got in contact, really, wasn't it?
Yes.
On that post, it's like, the apprentice post is like, how on earth could they have spelled Arctic wrong?
Yeah. Why is 3 or 4 people in one team, like 1 or 2 missing it, but everybody? Come on.
Yeah, well, no, and it's the same as happened this week as well. I've done another post about the first time foodies.
Yes, yeah. I can't watch The Apprentice because it's painful because I can't work out why these people just don't see it.
Well, because it's an entertainment program and the production company's in charge of it. So, someone said they knew the people in the production company, and it's like it's so more rigged than you'd think.
Wow.
It's an entertainment program, and people like seeing people being idiots. So it's really unfair. It's really unfair.
Yeah.
It is slightly unfair. So so that's usually But these days, the professional hack is right. Someone else in the team has to proofread everything I've written, even after I spell checked it, because I spell check it. The spell check doesn't pick up homonyms. Because the word of instead of off or whatever, it's like, well, spell check says they're both spelled right, so they're not going to pick up a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
we have to. So professionally, we have to proofread it. But my hack, actually, my hack is like my wife. Just you read it because you know damn well I'm not going to do it properly. So I kind of own it. It's like it doesn't matter. Yeah, I can do other things. You don't have to be great at everything.
Yes, yeah, that is important, isn't it? That you're strong at some things, weaker at others, and actually you surround yourself with a network that helps. You help them with their weak points, and they help you with yours, and we all build better things. Yeah,
we just lean into what you're good at, and don't beat yourself up just because you can't do something. It's like it's crazy. It's crazy.
Okay. Before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Ooh.
A hint. Shamelessly promote your book.
Oh, shamelessly promote my book. I'm really bad at it. I advise other people how to market themselves, but I'm not really good at doing it myself. The 2 things, yes, okay. Funny you should mention, Matthew. As you did mention earlier on, in the intro, I do have a book. So there is a book out called From Bland to Brand, which you can buy on any Amazon website, and you can get on Kindle as well. But that was a combination of me going, there has to be a way of affordably creating decent brands and not having all these mistakes being made. So rather than me charging you $5,000, just get a book for a tenner. It really that's about the cheapest branding strategy I can develop.
Yeah.
So just type in From Bland to Brand by Jason Flinter, and have a look at that. But the other thing is, don't. The other tip is, don't beat yourself up. Yeah, you're great at loads of things, so you can't spell. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Jason, for taking the time to come on and talk to me today. It's been quite good fun, actually, really interesting and really surprising where it went, actually, at points. I was like, what? Okay.
Oh, yes. Well, you tapped into a few things I didn't even realise. So thank you for that. I wish I could talk to my dad. He's not with us anymore, but I could go back to him saying, oi!
Fair enough. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody else for taking the time to listen, and I will catch you lot in the next episode. Goodbye for now.
Thanks very much.